Arlington National Cemetery is our nation's most sanctified land. It contains the remains of over 300,000 people from the United States and 11 other countries. They've been buried there since the 1860s and the beginning of the Civil War. It pays honor and tribute to our American heritage, our country's military service, as well as all of the brave men and women in uniform who have served our country. Out of the hundreds of thousands of people buried there, almost 5,000 of them are unknown soldiers. The Tomb of the Unknowns has never been formally named, and it is a memorial to those who died in World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War. The tomb is guarded 24 hours a day and 365 days a year, and guards are changed every 30 minutes. To respect the unknown soldiers, the guards have to make promises never to swear, drink alcohol, or fight in uniform for the rest of their lives. Some of the famous people buried there are Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, Roger P. Williams, Robert F. Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, William Halsey, and Martha Washington. The Arlington National Cemetery was created during the Civil War. It is on the grounds of the Arlington House, which had been the family estate of Confederate General Robert E. Lee and his wife, Mary Anna Custis Lee, a great-granddaughter of Martha Washington. During the time of her residence there, the Civil War began in an outburst, and many military personnel died in battle near Washington, D.C. and Virginia. They were buried at the United States Soldiers Cemetery in Washington, D.C., or Alexandria Cemetery in Alexandria, Virginia. But by 1863, both cemeteries were full. In 1862, Congress passed legislation allowing the U.S. federal government to buy land for national cemeteries for military dead. In May 1864, Union forces suffered great numbers of dead in the Battle of Wilderness. All of the deaths occurring caused General Montgomery C. Meigs to order that a search for a suitable site be made for the establishment for a large new national military cemetery. The staff began the search, and within a very short period of time, they had discovered the Arlington estate was the most suitable. The Arlington National Cemetery holds a great deal of importance to our nation along with all of the soldiers. It is the most famous cemetery in our country, and it's the final resting place for many of our nation's greatest heroes, including more than 300,000 veterans of every American conflict, from the Civil War to the Afghanistan and Iraq wars. Since it was founded in 1866, the Arlington National Cemetery has supplied a somber place of rest to respect and honor the sacrifices made by the men and women of the United States Armed Forces. Not only is it a resting place for the men and women who have served, many of the U.S. presidents, civil rights leaders, and other influential people are also buried there. It is also so important because the amount of funerals taking place each day. Every weekday, about 28 funerals occur for a full amount of nearly 6,900 each year. It holds a record for the second highest amount of funerals daily. All of the flags at Arlington National Cemetery are flown at half-staff from 30 minutes before the first funeral and 30 minutes after the last funeral. Throughout my research, I have learned an exceptional amount of information about the Arlington National Cemetery. The first thing I learned was what measures the guards have to take to be respectful to those who they are guarding. They must keep their gloves wet at all times to prevent their rifles from slipping and are not allowed to drink alcohol for the rest of their lives. I also learned how much history the Arlington House has, being the estate of Robert Lee and Mary Anna Custis Lee, and then being transformed into a part of the cemetery. Next, I learned how many famous civilians are buried there, like President Taft and the Kennedys. I also found out about how many Americans died in the Civil War. The Civil War had more American deaths than all American conflicts combined, and that's why the cemetery was created. But most importantly, I learned that there's a place in our country filled with so much honor, respect, and tribute, it's almost unimaginable.
So I'm talking about the FDR Memorial, and that's the Franklin Delano Roosevelt. This memorial was dedicated by President Lincoln in 1997. At night, it gets really pretty because if you're going on the night tour instead of the baseball game, you get to come here. There are lights that makes the statues pretty and the waterfall lights up. He was the 32nd President of the United States, and when he ever would make speeches or public announcements, he asked not to be photographed or videotaped in his wheelchair. This statue is of Franklin Delano Roosevelt sitting with him in a wheelchair and his dog Fala. This memorial took 20 years to plan out. This memorial is full of quotes and is made handicap accessible, so it has braille and you can go on it with a wheelchair. There are four rooms in total for this memorial. Each room stands for how many terms he served. This memorial was dedicated on May 1997, and then this memorial honors this man who served for 4 terms as president, one of America's greatest leaders. This memorial sits on what is known as the Cherry Tree Walk, which covers 7.5 acres, and then finally, he was president longer than anyone in history. In this temple, as the hearts of the people for whom he saved the Union, the memory of Abraham Lincoln is enshrined forever. The first stone was put into place for the monument on Abraham Lincoln's birthday 57 years later. May 30th, 7 years after that, the monument was open to the public. Today, 3.5 million Americans visit the Lincoln Memorial each year. As it was built by Henry Bacon, the awe-inspiring Greek-style marble and limestone building stands as a tremendous 99 feet tall. Although impressive, the main feature of the monument is a sculpture of Abraham Lincoln. In a throne like the Greek god Zeus, the president is shown as a strong and decisive leader. His sculpture, measuring 19 feet tall sitting, was made by Massachusetts' Daniel Chester French. The memorial also contains his inaugural speech on the north wall and the Gettysburg Address on the south. Other presidential features include 36 columns that represent each of the states in the Union at the time of his death, and the names of all the states when they joined the Union in Roman numerals. The $3 million monument has held some of the most influential protests and conventions, including Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech on August 28, 1963. The monument was built to honor our 16th President of the United States. The Lincoln Memorial was also built to improve the relations of the North and South after the Civil War. Additionally, it was built to remind us of the President who delivered our nation from discrimination and released thousands of lives from bondage. Since its creation, it has seen some of the most important civil rights movements and has continued to add to Lincoln's legacy. Continually, the Lincoln Memorial still holds significance in the heart of the American public. It stands as a reminder of the American Civil War, and the leadership that led us out of the darkness of slavery. It remains a relic of the intellect, bravery, and courage of the American people, and most importantly, our ideal that all men are created equally. The Lincoln Memorial, along with many others, have become a part of both our American history and heritage. This monument leaves us with a feeling of national pride, equality, and justice, the very thing that Abraham Lincoln and his administration fought to provide and protect. The history, elegant design, importance, and meaning of the Lincoln Memorial portrays the story of the man we know as Honest Abe.
The U.S. Air Force Memorial. The U.S. Air Force Memorial was dedicated on October 14, 2006. It was erected to honor past, present, and future airmen of the United States Air Force. Its 3 spires rise high above other sites of attraction, including the Pentagon and the Potomac River. The shape of the memorial was drawn up after the bomb burst maneuver used by the Air Force Thunderbird demonstration team. The same as other memorials, on the ground, the memorial includes inscription walls with the names of fallen airmen etched into it. The spires stand respectively at 270, 231, and 201 feet. On the ground, a paved path leads from the gate to the spires. This path, or the flight line of glory, intersects a brick pathway which leads to an 8-foot-tall honor guard made of bronze. The other side looks upon a glass room without a roof, known as the Chamber of Contemplation. On the ground, in between the spires, the Air Force star found on each aircraft is located, made of granite. This monument has been created in honor of the past, present, and future airmen and women of the USAF. The memorial grounds have multiple inscription walls. These walls contain the names of the fallen members of the United States Air Force. Each spire, besides being the bomb burst maneuver, represents U.S. airmen's 3 most important things: integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all that is done. The north wall contains the names of all the Air Force members who had been awarded with a Medal of Honor. The south wall contains quotes and sayings from the force, made to remind people of what these people did and to respect those who had fallen for us, while respecting and following these principles. This memorial was also constructed to recognize the groups that have supported our Air Force, The most notable group is the Aeronautical Division. This monument and memorial has great significance to Americans for us to remember what these people did for us. This monument is also the first memorial dedicated to the U.S. Air Force in American history. When people see the three spires, whether far away or from a road, they will remember the veterans of the Air Force. People whose fathers, mothers, brothers, and sisters will start to find comfort having their fallen loved ones recognized. This also shows respect to our current veterans and members of the force. It also shows how much respect and integrity there is in the United States of America. This memorial also brings back memories of our young nation fighting back in the air. This memorial shows people, whether they're alive or dead, that they aren't and never will be forgotten. While researching this memorial, I found out that there was an Air Force memorial because, in all honesty, I didn't even know there was one. I was reminded of exactly how sentimental this country is, and how we are as humans. Through donations, the $30,000 memorial was put together in honor of our fallen airmen. I saw how all the pieces of a memorial have meaning, whether it's the path you're on, or the design in the ground. Each small piece has great meaning. I also discovered more about the world-renowned James Ingo Freed. James had designed the memorial as well as other popular points such as the Holocaust Museum. While researching, I found out more about the Air Force, including their guidelines, integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all that is done. The bomb burst had required more in-depth research, and I found more information on the Thunderbirds, which are just F-16s. I found this project to be significant to my knowledge and education as well as background knowledge about this spot. I hope we can all visit the United States Air Force Memorial.
U.S. Air Force Memorial. The Air Force Memorial Foundation in January 1992 started the plans of building a memorial to honor the people in the United States Air Force. In 1994, President Bill Clinton approved the plan. The first site was to be northeast of the Arlington National Cemetery, but it was too close to the Marine Corps Iwo Jima Memorial. The site was moved to the south of the cemetery. The building of the memorial began in September 2004. It took 7 months to build it. The memorial was dedicated on October 14, 2006. About 30,000 people attended. President George W. Bush gave the keynote address. This monument was created to honor the thousands of men and women who have served in the United States Air Force. The three memorial spires, 201, 231, and 270, are made of stainless steel. The three spires represent the three Air Force's three core values: integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. They represent a bomb burst maneuver. There is no fourth spire because that one is the missing man formation used by the Air Force at funeral flyovers. It was hard to show air flight and the flying spirit. Each spire is lit up by its own light source. In front of the monument stands the Memorial Honor Guard, 4 8-foot tall bronze statues. Since the U.S. Air Force Memorial was dedicated on October 14, 2006, it has been a remembrance. It has been a place of honor to the pioneers of flight. It shows pride to all of those who served and are gone, and those who continue to serve in the future. It's all about heritage. We can pass down traditions, customs, and historical information from the past to the future. We value our military history. We're interested in the stories it tells. We can pass the information to others to share with servicemen, families, and the public. I learned that the U.S. Air Force Memorial is a new memorial and is not old like the other service monuments. I also learned that it took a long time to build. It took from January 1992, when the idea started, to October 2006, when it was dedicated. 13 years approximately. This monument is made of stainless steel. There are only 3 spires standing because they stand for the core values of the Air Force. A 4th spire would stand for the missing man formation. I learned that the chosen site is not the site where it stands today. The last thing I learned is that this monument was created to honor the thousands of men and women who served for our country and freedom.
The Washington Monument was created on December 6, 1884. That's when the capstone, or pyramidion, was finally placed on the top. Shortly afterwards, on February 21st, 1885, it was dedicated to George Washington, the first president. The materials used to make the Washington Monument were marble, granite, and bluestone pieces. Stands 555 feet tall and is the world's tallest stone obelisk ever made. The monument's construction began in 1848, was stopped from 1854 to 1877 because of donations from the public had run out. But in the end, it was finally completed in 1884. It officially opened October 9, 1888. Later, the monument was damaged by Hurricane Irene and the Virginia earthquake. The damage consisted of mostly large cracks near the top of the monument, and it was said that the monument was tilting at a slight angle afterwards. The Washington Monument was created in honor of George Washington's military leadership from 1773 to 1775. The monument was built between 1848 and 1884. The government's lack of money and public donations halted progress on the monument for a few years. Before the Washington Monument was created, the Washington National Monument Society held a contest that would determine the design of the monument. In the end, an architect by the name of Robert Mills got the task. On July 4, 1848, the cornerstone was laid for the monument, marking the beginning of the construction. The start of the Civil War in 1861 made the Washington National Monument Society's fundraising efforts falter. Once Lieutenant Thomas Casey, Robert Mills' successor to being head architect, came to be, he changed the monument's design so its originally flat top was then altered to have a pointed pyramidion, like a pyramid. The Washington Monument is important to America for a myriad of reasons. The first being that it is an everlasting tribute to our first president, George Washington. It's also important because it took a lot of time and effort to make. Another reason is because it symbolizes America's power. The monument is also a standing tribute to the pride of the people of our country. Another reason as to why the monument is important is that along with its power, America has wealth, a large amount of wealth. It also gets important from the fact that it's quite old. I have learned a great many things about the Washington Monument. One of the first things were the creators stimulate endless fascination to the number 6. Here are a few examples. At the bottom of the monument, the sides somehow measure out to be 666 inches long, while the monument is amazingly 6,666 inches tall. Also, the monument is 555 feet tall above ground, plus another 111 feet below ground, which would be the foundation, equals 666 feet in total height. Very strange.
World War II Memorial. In 1987, World War II veteran Roger Durbin approached Representative Marcy Kaptur, a Democrat from Ohio, and to ask if a World War II memorial could be constructed. Kaptur introduced the World War II Memorial Act to the House of Representatives as H.R. 3742 on December 10th. The resolution authorized the American Battle Monuments Commission to construct a World War II memorial in Washington, D.C., or its premises, but the bill was not voted on before the end of the session, so it could not be passed. 2 more times, in 1989 and 1991, Representative Kaptur introduced similar legislations, but these bills were denied by the House of Representatives and did not become a law. Kaptur reintroduced the legislation in the House for a 4th time as H.R. 682 on January 27, 1993, one day after Senator Strom Thurmond, a Republican from South Carolina, introduced companion Senate legislation. On March 17, 1993, the Senate approved the act, and the House approved an amended version of the bill on May 4th. On May 12th, the Senate also approved it, and the World War II Memorial Act was signed into law by President Bill Clinton on May 25th of that same year, becoming Public Law 103-32. The National World War II Memorial is a national memorial dedicated to Americans who served in all of the forces of the U.S. armies and militaries, and as civilians during World War II, consisting of 56 pillars and a pair of small triumphal arches surrounding a plaza and a fountain. It is located on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., Also, it's on the former side of the Rainbow Pool, at the eastern end of the Reflecting Pool, between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. It is a reminder of a war we Americans never wanted to fight, but in the end was forced into by the Japan. Then, after toppling Hitler's regime and nuking Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we had counted our casualties: 405,399 dead, 670,846 wounded. In total, that would make 1,076,245 wounded or dead. Still, 30,314 of our soldiers and civilians have not come home. The memorial has a major importance to this country and me because it reminds us of our brave soldiers who fought in the name of freedom, liberty, God, American pride, and also for people like me and you so we can live the lives we do today. The 24 bronze bas-relief panels that flank the ceremonial entrance offers glimpses into the human life at home and at war. They breathe new life into familiar black and white photographs and newsreels, especially when a visiting veteran describes one of the scenes. The memorial also features areas where veterans' recollections come flooding back, triggered by the sight of dozens of battle names and military campaign designations carved into stone. A wall of 4,048 gold stars silently pays an honorable tribute to the sacrifice of more than 405,000 American lives. Also, if you're there and you have time, make sure you search the U.S. World War II registry for friends, family, or just anyone you know that served in World War II. It shows where they served, what they served as, and what they accomplished in their life. In the end, I can say that this memorial is very honorable to have and is a nice thing to see, and I can't wait to see it myself.
World War II Memorial was designed by Frederick St. Florian. The ground was broken in 2001 for the memorial. 56 granite pillars were set into place, which are 17 feet tall and are arranged in a semicircle. Each pillar is inscribed with the name of one of the 48 states of 1945. When you approach the semicircle from the east, a visitor walks along one of two walls seeing scenes of the war experience. If you approach from the left, you see signs with soon-to-be servicemen getting physical and taking the oath. The memorial opened to the public in 2004 and was dedicated on May 29th.
The World War II Memorial opened on April 29, 2004 and was dedicated on May 29, 2004. The monument was dedicated almost 60 years after World War II. The request of building the memorial took over 6 years to get past legislation. President Clinton signed the public law to establish the memorial on May 25, 1993. It took 11 years to build the monument, 1993 to 2004. All funding came from the donations and pledges. Close to $2 million was raised. Students in 1,200 schools across the country donated to the memorial. The design architect was Frederick St. Florian from Providence, Rhode Island.
The World War II Memorial was built to honor the 16 million people that served in the armed forces of the United States and the 400,000 who died during the war. This was the first national memorial dedicated to all that served during World War II. It also recognizes the millions of people at home who worked to support the war effort. To quote President Harry S. Truman, "Our debt to the heroic men and valiant women in the service of our country can never be repaid. They have earned our undying gratitude. America will never forget their sacrifices."
The memorial is a reminder of the commitment that the U.S. has to protecting freedom wherever it is threatened. Its importance to our country is obvious based on its location between the Washington and Lincoln Memorial. The Washington Memorial signifies the birth of our nation. The Lincoln Memorial signifies the commitment to one nation. The World War II Memorial signifies the U.S. commitment to the freedom and democracy worldwide. Often at the memorial, you will find veterans who fought in World War II. Their presence not only serves as a reminder to sacrifices made, but also provides to our community opportunity for visitors to thank them. It is also a chance for veterans to get together and discuss their involvement in the war.
While researching this topic, I have learned that over 4 million people visit the memorial each year. The dedication celebration lasted 4 days, and the National Park Service operates this national memorial. The memorial is open 24 hours, 7 days a week. Also, there are 4,048 gold stars on the Freedom Wall, each representing 100 soldiers who died in the war. Almost 17,000 granite stones make up the memorial. 2 areas are marked Atlantic and Pacific, signifying the 2 major areas of conflict. World War II was a tragic time in the 20th century, but left us valuing independence. Never take freedom for granted.